Okay, we're live. I'm just waiting for Instagram. Just a second to drag in those people from Instagram. Okay. Okay. Just getting connected. And okay, people starting to join. Okay, so this is a new space that we're gonna have. It's kind of like an interview space, but very relaxed and conversational. It's going to be called Friends of the Blog. So today we're going to have Imdat Oner. He he's an international Venezuela watcher. He used to work at the Turkish embassy in Venezuela, and today he's a researcher at FIU in Miami. Today we're gonna discuss Alex Saab and the amnesty law. So I'm bringing Imdat in right now. Imdat, how are you?
Hey Raul, I'm doing well, and you?
Happy to have you here. Um,
Thank you for
so
having me.
As I was telling you, we were discussing offline. Venezuela right now, and also I had a stream earlier with Rafa. We do a weekly kind of update on what's going on in Venezuela, but we don't get a week is too much. So we end up talking about what happened on the same day.
Exactly. I just watched also this afternoon your streamline with Rafael, and it was great to get the context what's happening in Venezuela in Spanish.
Yeah, but we only get like a little bit of context because we already like forgot what happened last week and during the weekend on Monday, Tuesday, and suddenly yesterday. Could have been a slow day. It started with a little bit of tension because a journalist was taken by the national police and held for like 40 minutes or something. Then orders and counter orders, he was released, but suddenly like we got like one of those big news that we've been getting every day, that Alex Saab and Raul Gorin, two um, individuals connected to Chavismo, we're going to discuss them further now, were taken by Sevin. um, uh, just like the update right now is that there's no update. Like there's not a lot of information on what happened. Yesterday, Radio Caracol said that that it was a joint operation between the FBI and SEBIN, the Venezuelan intelligence police. That which, if it was that, that's like kind of big news. Um, and Following that, it was expected that probably they were going to be extradited because Gorin is wanted in the U.S. For money laundering and Operation Money Flight and other stuff. And Alex Saab, who was apprehended and taken to the U.S., was pardoned or semi released by Biden. I understand that pardon had like it wasn't like it had some conditions. Um,
Mhm.
we're not very clear on what happened. They're still in for we're still waiting to see if I don't know, they could be extradited, released, kept in jail. Uh, Disappeared as the regime usually does. But for now, we're just waiting and seeing. What we know is that Jorge Rodriguez, the president of the National Assembly and brother of the branch manager Delcy Rodriguez, said when asked that he had no information on that he didn't know. He could have just said that Saab was at home or that it was a lie. But he just said that that wasn't under his purview. So, and apart from that, there's been kind of like confirmation from by Reuters published something saying that they had sources in the U.S. saying that in fact they were taken, and the New York Times said that they were taken in for questioning. But that's where we are. So I know that from your work in the past, you have like a good view on, particularly on who Saab is.
Hmm.
He returned to Venezuela kind of like a hero. There was like a whole process where he was granted the Venezuelan citizenship and made like a diplomat, and then he was a minister.
Yeah.
It's an insane story, but it would be great if you could give us some context on who Saab is from your point of view.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as you described, the situation, especially revolving around Alexa, is very interesting right now. As I also checked a few days, like, is there any official confirmation about his arrest, detention? But there is no any official confirmation. And the weird thing is that, as you mentioned, the the Jorge just mentioned that they don't know anything about him. So this is not possible. We all know that
Yeah.
something is happening behind the door. Most likely he has been arrested, but I guess now they are just thinking what will happen next. Most likely U.S. is asking the extradition process. I guess there are some uncertainties there how this process will happen, how this extradition process will be taken care. That's why they are not officially announcing this. And today, another journalist asked me, "What's your expectation?" I guess he will be extradited, and then Venezuelan authorities will announce that he has been arrested. So they will
Mhm.
confirm it after he has been extradited. That might be an option, a possibility, because I guess there are some internal discussion within the regime right now, and some different power dynamics playing, because the arrest and detention of Alex Saab is also a sign that this can continue for the other regime members till the Astral
Yes.
Cabinet. So I guess right now the next person might be either the Astral or someone else. So there might be a kind of a heat discussion. So that's why they're trying to hide some aspect of this news. But if you come to Alex Saab, I found his name during 2017, 18. Once he started as a kind of a fraudman of Maduro, especially
Mhm.
at the time of the sanctions against Venezuela. And Alex Saab was used by the Maduro government, Maduro regime, just send him to the other countries who can make business in exchange of gold or oil, something else. So in a kind of more non-transparent way, he just went to different countries, tried to set up some businesses, some shell companies to make this business. Of course, these are all were under the radar of the United States authorities, especially the Treasury Department. They were following closely. For example, I know from Turkey, Alex Saab went to Turkey, established some shell companies just to start this gold versus food exchange program.
Oh yeah.
So they were
Mhm.
selling the gold to Turkey. I don't know how they process established. I don't know if they are sending the gold directly to the central bank or some other refineries, and then some third party companies were managing buying food from the Turkish companies and then sending them to Venezuela. And this food has become part of this club program, so government subsidized
Yeah.
program. But this was huge corruption. I think like millions of dollars have been just used in this through this mechanism. And Alex Saab was the key figure here. That's why he was kind of a key person for Maduro. That's why the Treasury Department follow him very closely. His action, his all business ties, networks in other countries. And then, for example, Treasury Department came to Turkey. The officials came to Turkey and warned Turkey, look, this whatever you are doing right now with Venezuela is under the sanctions. Either you will stop this or you will be subjected to sanctions. and then Turkey just changed this from more official channel to unofficial channel. So they
Yeah.
just still had this business, but in a kind
Mhm.
of more non-transparent way. And Alex Saab was again at the center of this mechanism. And I think in 2020, when I first heard his name, and he was captured in Cape Verde, in an
Yeah.
African country, and I said, okay, then he's done. And then, as you know, he was extradited to United States, and he was in jail. But then this deal between the United States, especially the Biden administration and Maduro, um, in I think for the sake of elections, right, free and fair elections, and then they just released him, and he came back to country. He was, I mean, before he came back, he was titled as diplomat. I mean, this is the first weird thing. Like, just
Yeah.
describe him. He was not even born in Venezuela. He was a Colombian
Mhm.
individual,
Yeah.
but somehow he was. He became, Venezuelan citizen. He became Venezuelan ambassador, and then a minister, like minister of production and industry, something like that. But a few weeks ago, once Delcy Rodriguez announced he's just changing, like she's changing the cabinet, and he's just taking from his position.
Yeah. He
That,
was removed. Yeah.
yeah, I think this was the result of U.S. pressure over Delcy just to take him from his position. And
Yeah.
people said that, no, this is just because of Delcy has not a good relation with him. Yes, that's correct. But I think it was still U.S. decision to take him from the position.
I wonder. There's a lot that has been said during that whole process because, as you said, Saab was a key figure for different schemes. Because on one side, as you said, he was he was involved in the club business, kind of like as an importer of food for those for the club boxes, which or the food boxes that they would distribute amongst the people, especially in the worst days of the economic crisis
Yeah.
in 2017 and 2018. But also he was a fixer and a key figure to circumvent sanctions
Yes.
and get diluent shipments from Iran and get oil out of Venezuela. And when he is taken, then his wife appears in Venezuela during the time he was apprehended.
Hmm.
And there was a sense in Venezuela that Camila Fabri, his wife, was kind of being held in Venezuela
Yeah.
because they sort of like wanted to control what Saab could or
Going to
could not
share with the
say
U.S. Yes.
in the U.S. And also at the same time, there were some um, articles in the press and some rumors that Saab in the past had in fact collaborated with the DEA. So
Correct. Yes.
there's all this stuff in the air, and then uh, Maduro rescues Saab in the whole negotiation process ahead of the elections.
Hmm.
So as you said, Delcy removes him. She doesn't like him, but obviously, I think that one of the things is that in the cabinet cleaning, they have removed Cuban citizens that were working within, like the Maduro regime. Saab is a key person to remove, and now they go after them directly. And I think this is like an easy offer for the U.S. But one thing that I wonder is why wouldn't Saab just leave? I thought when he was removed, he started talking about Colombia
Yeah.
and how change was coming to Colombia, and how that he probably would be involved in politics. And we know that De La Espriella, like his lawyer, or at some point an associate of him, is running for the Colombian presidency. I wouldn't imagine like Petro extraditing him or just like processing him. Why didn't he leave Venezuela? Why did he stay? And it's especially if it's a hostile environment.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it was a really good question because since after he left the position, I was expecting either he will leave to a third country, which is safer for him,
Mhm.
or to Colombia, because eventually this is going against him. Like this step is moving towards a kind of detention and extradition because now the U.S. is in charge in Venezuela and now dictating what will happen to key figures. And Alex Saab is critical, not because just Delcy has not good relation with him, but also Trump administration is considering him as a failure of the Biden administration. So
Yeah,
why Biden administration has released him? So that's why they are saying that they did a mistake. I mean, the previous administration made a mistake, and now we are fixing it. So the first fix will be Alex Saab. We will bring him back. So this will be a plus for this the current administration, especially Marco Rubio,
yeah,
Secretary of State. He will be pushing for this extradition, and that's why I think it's not a smart move for him to stay in Venezuela. But also, as you mentioned, I don't know how it is related to the visit of Petro to the White House, right? This
mm,
has been discussed. I mean, because this just happened right after Petro
yes,
visit to the White House, right?
right,
So that might be also a part of maybe discussion. Alex Saab is not a unimportant person, or he's a really key person, both related to Colombia, Venezuela, and the United
yeah,
States. So this might be a part of the discussion. That's why maybe Colombia didn't allow him to return back to country, and he had to stay in Venezuela. And maybe we didn't even know like maybe Sabin was following him after he left his position, right? So that might be another thing. We just heard from this Colombian newspaper that his arrest, detention, but maybe this already has been done maybe a few days ago. So that's why we can just speculate here. But
yeah,
my understanding is for anyone who leaves his position and who has this kind of corruption scandal and the direct interest in the United States, that these kind of people should be worried about their situation, right? I heard like a few news that might be rumor, but Diosdado Cabello was hiding in some embassies in the last 3 weeks
yeah.
because he's afraid of being extradited to the United States because
Well,
that's normal, right? So this might happen. United States, if they decide to pull
yeah,
Diosdado from Venezuela, this might happen.
yeah. I think there's something on here on obviously one of the biggest obstacles to democratization right now in Venezuela is not like the whole Delcy branch apparatus.
Yeah,
It's Diosdado Cabello himself.
yeah,
But the problem with a person like Diosdado, as the example of Saab, that where was he gonna go?
mhm,
I think that's that if he didn't leave Venezuela was because he didn't feel that he was gonna be safer elsewhere. And I think and that I think that was kind of like the logic of Maduro as well, when he was offered or when an off ramp was being discussed. And this is something that in our analysis we are always added that there was nothing that Trump could offer Maduro that would make him like a guarantee that he was going to be safe or
same.
out of jail or enjoying life in another country, which is the same problem with Diosdado right now.
Mhm.
There is no off ramp for Cabello, and
Yes.
he is right now like the biggest obstacle to actually like one of the main reasons, the biggest pushback that you're gonna get for once the opposition actually engages in politics in a campaign in Venezuela. You will not be able to have a free and fair election if Diosdado is on the ground, or at least a peaceful one. So I think that's like one of the biggest points of tension on that matter. I wanted to go back a second. You mentioned that, or we discussed that Saab was given by the Biden administration, kind of like in the whole um, negotiation towards the elections. I believe that the elections were key. The result of the elections, even when they weren't fair, but the result of the election was key to what is happening right now. I don't think that the U.S. would have done removed Maduro if there was like a little bit of legitimacy
Mm.
uh, his stake on power. But do you think it was necessary for the Biden administration to release Saab? Hindsight is 2020. If everything goes well, then everyone's going to claim victory. That
Yeah.
we did what we had to do, so we could eventually get there. Like from the 2019 sanctions till now, everything was done right. But do you think that it was necessary to release Saab back then, or was that a mistake? Or
I mean, first of all, why he was like released? I mean, this is kind of more the discussion and a part of negotiations. I don't know under which conditions this has been discussed, but we know
Mhm.
that Saab was a very critical person for Maduro, and he pushed this. But I don't know why the U.S. authorities couldn't push back against this, request from the Maduro
Mhm.
administration. This might be something else. Like the U.S. authorities could provide something else. Rather than releasing him, but it's hard to explain the situation, because when first I heard that deal, and Alex Saps will be released, I was so shocked, because this wouldn't make any sense for me at that time. Such a key figure who knows all corruption scandals and will be very good source for the U.S. authorities. I think much better source than narco, uh, indictments, because
Yeah,
corruption is much well-known part of Maduro rather than
yeah,
drug trafficking, because drug
I agree.
trafficking sometimes has been more politicized, but corruption scandals and Alex Saab case is already a well-known case. For to create start a new initiate a new indictment about Maduro. That was that's why it was surprising for me to first of all to release him. But of course, from my understanding, that was a mistake. I guess if you go back and ask those people who involved in that negotiation process, they might say the same thing. We made a mistake to release him. But I don't know what was the other request of Maduro from the U.S. authorities. So I couldn't say or speculate further,
Yeah,
because it's not it's a done deal already, and they made this choice. But I think this Trump administration is just using very well this pragmatically, and just show that we are just trying to fix this problem that you made. We have now this person, we are going to extradite him, and we are going to use him against Maduro, right? I think that's the best case
correct,
for the Trump administration.
correct. So I would like now to move on to the amnesty law. As you know, last
Mhm.
week, well, something that I think that has been very interesting in this whole process is that every action from the Delphi management um, has a reaction or has a mirror action in the United States and vice versa. So we see that they signed the new hydrocarbons law, which is it completely wipes off the whole Chavez oil policy,
Mhm.
and immediately the U.S. Issues the trade license. And then we see that there is Trump talks about direct flights to Venezuela,
Mhm.
and you see an immediate response by Delcy, and American Airlines has like that communique that they have been saving for like 4 years, saying that they're going to be the first to return to the country. On Friday, Delcy went on after just 1 day or 2 days after Rubio said that the political prisoner release process had been, has been slow. Then Delcy appeared with an amnesty law that she was going to file before the National Assembly. So, kind of like to have a blanket amnesty for the years of violence since 1999. And she also says that they're going to close, the or that the Helicoide, the infamous political prison center and torture center in Caracas, was going to be, only used for sports and cultural
Mhm.
stuff, and that they weren't going to be holding any more prisoners there. The next day, Laura Dogu, the new envoy, charged affairs in Venezuela from the U.S., arrives. So there's like this flow
Mhm.
of of actions and messages. The whole Saab and Gorin thing also, like, there's like deep collaboration.
Mhm.
But so the amnesty law is being discussed. Political prisoners are being released timidly, not like super fast, but we're getting to decent numbers. How sincere do you think that this amnesty law is going to be? Because there's like a lot of worry that it's just like a gesture, and well, for now we haven't seen the political prisoner revolving door going, no, but there's a lot of worry that this is either to fake it before the US and key political prisoners will not be released, or that it's a device to pardon themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective about Chavismo and then all this, like, Maduro era Chavistas and now post Maduro era Chavistas, I will never believe their sincerity or their honesty about human rights or democracy, whatever. They are just trying to manipulate, and I think they are
Mhm,
doing it just because the United States has just put the gun on their heads and
mhm,
just asking you are going to do this because this is the part of the stabilization that United States has put forward. So we are just seeing Delcy is doing whatever the Washington is asking from this administration, and they are not sincere. They don't believe in human rights. They don't believe in this amnesty law, but they just think that they need to do that. They need to show to international community that this administration is normalizing. This administration is having a political opening for kind of moderation. But I believe these are all cosmetic improvements. Structurally, I believe nothing has changed. This
okay.
administration will never allow free, fair elections. Until that point, we can expect everything: amnesty law, or release of political opponents, and opposition members might have more rights, more freedom. The media might have more freedom, but these are all until that point, that red line: free and fair elections. I expect there will be more improvements because the United States wants to see more. It's not just because democracy, but also because the oil industry, oil companies needs to see further improvement just to come and make business in Venezuela. That's why these are prerequisites for these companies. Um, that's why, I mean, we shouldn't just think that everything is happening for the sake of Venezuelan democracy, but I guess it's more about the oil industry. I mean, oil industry is stabilization and producing more oil, selling more oil, and making more money. That's the core principle. that beyond that, I believe there will be some improvement, as I said, and there will be more political opening. Opposition might involve more in the discussions, but eventually, what will happen and how long this will take, right? We know that this is a temporary period for Delcy. She's going to call the elections in 6 months, but I believe this will never happen, and she will just extend with the help of Supreme Court or Constitutional Court, and it will just continue
Mhm.
6 months more, 6 months more. And I believe unless a significant change happens, especially an external pressure from the United States, there won't be an election on the horizon. That's my expectation.
Okay.
There will be, I believe, at least 2 to 3 years process, and then this is a strategy of Delcy. Let's see how the United States, especially the Trump administration, is going to do in the coming months, because there will be midterm elections, right? And then Trump will be more busy with all internal things, right? So if you look at now, the elections are coming, and this
Yeah.
ICE operations, so the Medicare stuff and the healthcare stuff, economy, Trump's approval is going down. So eventually, internal pressure will come, and United States will be busy with its own situation. Or if you look at now, pressuring Iran, that's another front for for the United States. So I don't know how long Trump administration can sustain this pressure. I don't know. Have you seen this? Just a couple of hours ago, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced that all narco the majority of narco traffickers decided to stop, cease their operations.
Hmm.
So I guess this is a sign that United States will pull back their assets from the Caribbean. So that means more flexibility for Delcy, right? If there is no military on the Caribbean, then Delcy will feel more, will feel less
Less
leveraged
pressure.
in the opening.
Yeah, she will feel less pressure. So, okay, so you're saying that everything may we will see more improvement, but that the moment that there is kind of you know the moment because there's like no politics right now, but the moment that politics go into the game again, like
Mhm.
the discussion about elections, a campaign, and all that, then Chavismo is gonna go back to pushing to it's gonna push back harder. Like I can imagine like the first thing that's going to happen, Machado is going to go back. It's going to want to go back to Venezuela to campaign and to participate in the elections. Is she going to be allowed to go back? Is she going to be allowed to campaign? Is she going to be allowed to run? And that's
Mhm.
going to be a point of pushback for
Yes.
Delphi. And the other, I was having a discussion with a friend a few days ago, and they were saying like, "Hey, Venezuelans just want to work, and it doesn't really matter if you're doing fine. They're not gonna care much about the elections or democracy. Like we've seen it before, like all these moments where the burbuja and the Venezuela se arregló and all this
Yeah.
stuff, but the truth is that all those moments happen when there are no elections on site. Because we were in one such moment in 2003 and 2000, but the whole electoral machinery started. Venezuelans want democracy and they actually like participating in elections. And that is going to create a problem for Delphi if their plan is not to, you know, I
But
but
maybe I can add one note there. I mean, you're right, but also think from this, recent hydrocarbon law and other things like the oil industry improvement. So the money flow to Venezuela, and then there will be improvement in economy as well, and on in the hoop like people's, you know, life and all other things. So there will be kind of improvement economically, financially, and this will improve people's life, and then maybe people will not also push a lot, because as we know, this, economic uncertainties, hyperinflation, all other things really push people to, a change, for a change. But now, if everything is going well, people are earning their money, unemployment is going low, inflation is going low, and then maybe people will also see, okay, we can continue, we can live with that, right? And
Hmm.
as long as pressure is not coming from bottom to top, there will be no free and fair election discussion, right? And also, from the US perspective, they are also not going to push a lot for an election. Why? Because there is already a stable government, right? Okay, they are not democratically
Yeah.
elected, but they are doing whatever we want, and the people are
Hmm.
happy. Nobody is leaving the country. There is no migration issue. There is no drug issue. China, Iran, and Russia already leaving the country. So, I mean, we should look at this kind of scenarios. Like, I think, from my understanding, we are in a very new era, and this is not like black and white. We can also see a gray area, that people are happy, US happy, United States happy, and then Venezuelan authorities are happy. So then what will happen? Maria Corina Machado lives in the United States. She cannot return back to Venezuela. I think we should also ask these questions.
Yeah. The only thing I probably would add there, or I want to weigh in with, is that the last few days, Venezuelans had stopped like protesting and going to the streets, but the last few days, you can see, it's like, we were discussing today, like, people uh, showing their faces out of the nuclear shelter, when people feel that like there's a little bit more of freedom, that you
Mhm.
start seeing journalists back in the streets. You start seeing small protests. We saw, well, not only like this group of this image of the student movement
Mhm.
confronting Delcy in
Yeah.
Universidad Central, but also they organized a protest, and now they called for a bigger one on the 12th. So then there's also this thing of, if people actually feel safe and that there's no repression, they may, there may be a pressure earlier than what not only Delcy believes, but than the Trump administration believes, earlier than what they
Mhm.
believe. So I can see how they see that as a problem, especially from the Trump administration, with the Rubio's following his plan. He wants to stabilize the country,
Mhm.
and then we have the other discussions. But there is going to be pressure from within and from the Machado group,
Mhm.
to not forget that, okay,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
has to be an elected government in place, which is not something that's happening right
Yeah.
now.
But then also, I just follow Henry Capriles' statement and
Mhm.
the actions in the last couple of weeks, and he's getting more aligned with the government than Machado. And if this kind of internal fracture increase within the opposition, and if Machado is excluded and isolated, then what will happen? That will be, I think, another question, right? So because there is no unity within the opposition, we don't know how they are going to react. If, let's say, this repression is like eliminated, and there is more political opening, and opposition
Yeah,
actively joins the discussion in National Assembly, so this discussion can continue without
yeah.
having an election. But eventually we have a less powerful opposition, less influential actors in the opposition side. So that might be another scenario.
Yeah, I think that the unity of the opposition point is quite interesting, because the truth is that the let's say the majority opposition, the largest group, doesn't actually have representation on the ground.
Yeah, correct.
But it's beyond unity. Again, and this is almost anecdotal, but if you see Enrique Capriles does a stream and there's like 70 people that we have more
Vote.
people right now than he
Yeah,
would have.
yeah,
I don't see that it's so much a problem of unity, but a problem of representation. And of course, it would be easier if Stalin Gonzalez and Capriles and Machado were working together, and there actually was a representation of that wider opposition on the ground.
mhm,
Um, but for me, I think that um, there has to be some sort of conversation
yeah,
moving forward to be able to actually deliver this. But I
yeah.
don't see it as like two, three oppositions.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah. Also, yeah,
uh,
maybe I can add this. Just one really influential thing for Maria Corina Machado is her influence in DC, in Washington. She
mhm.
is really an influential person. Both in the Democrats and the Republican. She has a great network that she can use, and use her as a leverage, put more pressure for calling a free fair
Yeah,
elections. I think she needs just to use this more. I think that's the only opportunity and advantage that she has right now, as opposed to what she doesn't have, this unity discussion on other things. I think this might be a game changer if she can really use this leverage over the both Congress and then
yeah,
the Trump administration. Then this might change something. This might push the Delcy administration just to call the elections as soon as possible. But still, I see this, the dynamics in the Delcy side. She's also trying to convince Trump administration that she's someone that can be workable, right?
yeah.
She can
That,
do
that she's
everything.
reliable.
Felix Plasencia, his appointment
Mhm.
to DC, I was expecting him, like he's the right person, and she's also playing
Yeah,
her card strategically, Delcy.
yeah,
I mean, um, for example, Felix can easily manage this, a good rapport, a good, engagement with different actors in DC, try to acknowledge them. Look, we have a really moderate government. We can do whatever you want. We can improve oil industry, and just, let's postpone this election as much as possible for more
yeah,
stability, right?
yeah.
She's going to use her card. So I believe there will be a kind of this conflict and tension in DC between different actors, and
Well,
then we will see which one will
well,
prevail.
it's for sure it's gonna be entertaining for us.
Yeah,
I think that as you said, Machado is influential. I think she's doing something right in this moment, which is that she's reaching across the aisle
yeah,
to Democrats, and she has a mission there because Venezuela has been traditionally a bipartisan issue,
hmm,
and in the last couple of months or more, it started feeling like it wasn't.
yeah, correct.
So she's doing a good job in and it's not just because the Republicans took it for themselves.
Hmm.
It's because the Democrats started rejecting a lot of what the Republicans were doing, and I think that Machado is doing a good job at kind of establishing that bridge again.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually, Democrats are pushing more for the free fair elections than Republicans right now. If you look at the Congress and their statement, I see this, like, especially in the recent sessions that Marco Rubio attended, Democrats are really pushing for this elections, and just Delcy should leave the
yeah.
power, because this is just continuation of the previous regime. That's why, I mean, it's a good strategy for Maria Corina continue with this bipartisan approach and use her leverage on our two parties.
Okay. I have here a comment from Frick. I believe that influence disappears somewhat before the actual intentions of the Trump administration might change after the midterms, but that won't happen until November. Mm,
Yeah, that's the question, right? So
yeah,
these elections are really important for Trump administration, and we don't know how it will play. And how Venezuela will be in this, you know, in the election roadmap. And I think that there will be too many questions before election and after elections. We will see. But I think, yeah, that Mario Corina can use this, at least keep Venezuela topic in the agenda of the United States.
Yeah, correct. I agree with you. I have other questions, but they go further back. Let's see. What is the process for any funds that Saab has or his testaferros to have them returned to Venezuela? Is there a precedent? Well, I think I can kind of answer that.
Yep.
Uh, first you have to seize the assets, locate them and freeze them, or you know, and then well, there's many things that can happen, because it's very hard to determine whether those funds come from Venezuelans. You have to track the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're able to track them, then there can be some sort of agreement to invest those funds. Like they could go for different things, but I know that right now there's kind of like there is a couple of initiatives in the U.S. to create funds for. There's one case that's creating funds for victims of human rights violations from the Venezuelan government, and funds such as like this are being used like to compensate them.
Mhm.
That is not exactly returning the funds to Venezuelan coffers, but again, it's hard to determine where they came from, and like in the cases that you can actually make the tracking, they probably go back to where they came from. But when it's hard, there are things that can be done, like creating a fund for victims, or
Mhm.
for humanitarian aid, or for specific purposes. But I know that there are several initiatives right now. There are even civil cases in the U.S. Where they are, saying like, "Hey, there was damage on these people," and there are judgments that can be executed. But it's a very hard and interesting work.
Yeah.
Um, on precedent, and it's not such a great precedent. I know that some of these funds end up being pulled by Treasury, and sometimes they are used to compensate uh, uh, victims of cases, even of other countries. And ideally, there should be some sort of initiative to avoid these funds being pulled with others, and just like keep them separate, so we can determine, for a Venezuela related end.
Mhm.
It's what would make sense. I don't know if there are other questions here, but the very nature of the democratic transition is not to move into another monolith. Okay. Okay. And I don't think we have any more questions. But again, Imdat, well, you're on Twitter. Where can people find you? I really like your, as I said, you're one of the Venezuela watchers to watch. Uh,
Thank you.
so you have very sharp opinions, and a good knowledge of the country.
A bit
Um,
pessimistic though.
uh,
A bit pessimistic. I mean, I'm not so optimistic sometimes about,
well,
many things.
but it's okay. Also, I mean, my most optimistic take on this is that there are a million ways that this can go wrong, and probably only one that it can go right. But it's among this path that right option can be found.
Yeah.
So but I agree with you. It's a very complicated moment.
Yeah.
But again, thank you very much. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun in the weeks to come, because we're seeing a lot of unprecedented stuff happening. and probably we're going to have you back in Friends of the Blog.
Sure, with pleasure.
Okay. Okay, Imdat. I'm pulling you out, and okay. So very quickly, I'm closing down this page today. But if you were watching on Twitter or elsewhere, I recommend that you go to YouTube and follow us there. It's the best place to watch because the comment section is lively and pretty great. So until next time, bye.